over Florida down in Tiger Stadium, a major rivalry game. Coach, thank you very, very much. And just watching the game, you were coaching it. You feel the rivalry between these two schools and what it means to both sides. How are you feeling today?
I was exhausted. I mean, it's a lot more than I really thought. I mean, we played at Gainesville, Paul, last year, and obviously on the road, you expect that kind of feeling, and but even at home, this is a little different. Playing Florida, there is an edge to this game that I did not anticipate, and it's real. And so my second time around here, I'm starting to get a real sense of each and every week. You better put your hat on because it's real every single week in the SEC.
And certainly the losing streak, or the winning streak, I should say, for LSU over Florida is pretty significant. So I joked with you as we were coming on. It's not really a joking matter in the coaching world about what's been happening. But I would like to ask you about that for a second, because you've been in coaching your adult life, and it comes with a lot of risk and has some rewards. But when you see your fellow coaches, as we've seen in the last 24 hours, two of them go down, what goes through your mind?
Well, the families, that's the part that nobody really sees more than anything else. You see the face of the coach, and obviously the fan base wanting to win. And we truly understand that as coaches. We're well compensated. We're put in a position to do things in an incredible environment. But there are families behind this that it's very difficult. Because you've got kids in school, you're probably going to have to move in many instances. That's the tough part. That's what we see as coaches. But again, it comes with the territory. And I think everybody that gets in it, unfortunately, knows that there is a tough part of this business as well.
Coach, I have to go way back in time when I was a young reporter, but I covered Coach Paul Bryant's final season. And I was with him on his last day and asked him, I said, a lot of people wondered why you didn't retire a year earlier, right after you broke Amos Alonzo Stagg's record. And he said, I couldn't do that. And he says, not only the coaching staff, and you know this better than anyone, it's right. How many people depend on that program to be employed?
No doubt. And Paul, I think what's even bigger now is your support staff has grown to the point where, when we were in it, and talking about Coach Bryant, you probably were talking about 20, 25 people. It's upwards close to 100 now that are part of your organization. It's not just your 10 coaches. It's, all of the support staff that go along, recruiting, personnel, nutrition, strength and conditioning. It is such a big operation now. And so you're obviously putting yourself in a position where, if you lose your job, many people are looking for a job as well.
Talking to Coach Brian Kelly after the huge win, and I think it would be incumbent upon all of us to start with Jayden Daniels. You have said some really flattering things about him, which are all true, by the way. And I want you to expound on that here in terms of just what he has meant to your football team.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been doing it for 3 decades, and I've always been reticent about, promoting a player because every coach does that, right? Everybody's going to be, singing the praises of their particular player. And sometimes I was like, that just sounded like, another soundbite. But this kid is so special. Where he's come in just a year is just amazing in terms of being able to throw the ball down the field, recognize defenses, throw the ball from the pocket, run the football. Defenses have tried everything, every look from spying them to sending 7 to overload pressures to dropping 8. And he's done everything to defeat those kinds of defensive looks. And it's just as a guy that has purely been in the business as long as I have, I just love watching him. I'll pay to get in the stadium. It's so exciting to watch him play.
And not that you're going to have to pay the rest of the season, but there are a lot of questions about where he fits into the national scene. And I know a lot of my colleagues believe he is the best player in the country, which brings us to the Heisman question, which gets asked a lot, and way too early in the season it gets thrown around. But I'm a voter. what what would you recommend to those of us who are trying to determine the best player in the country?
Well, look, the Heisman is not just about one game, right? It's about your work the entire season. And he's got the number one offense in the country, the number one scoring offense in the country. I think the offense in which he is commanding is the top 10 in 9 of 10 categories. So from an offensive production standpoint, it's unparalleled from that standpoint. And then the individual play of the quarterback, 600 yards in total offense in one singular night, I think just puts him in a category of the best singular player in the country in terms of what he's done for an entire offense, the number one offense in the country, and then individually. And that's my case for him. And everybody can make their own case. I get it. That would be my case for Jayden Daniels.
Coach, if we could go back to one moment in the game the other night, one of your players was flagged by the officiating, and you were very strong in his defense after the game, and you referenced the previous game with the hit by Dallas Turner on Jayden. I'm not trying to draw you into a conflict with the conference office, but I would like to hear your thoughts, if you don't mind.
Well, what I was trying to articulate is that I did not know that was being reviewed, because the mechanics of review for me has always been the referee would be looking at the monitor and reviewing the play. Well, that didn't happen in the Alabama game. And it certainly happened because they stopped the game and they reviewed the play the other night when we were trying to make a tackle on a running back. So for me, I was confused as to why was one reviewed and not the other. One was a hit that led to a player being concussed, to the other one where he didn't even make a tackle on a running back that was lowering his head. So there was obviously the emotions of the game. Right after the game, asked the question, and there was an inconsistency in my mind as to why was one reviewed and not the other. Subsequently, I was told it was reviewed, but the mechanics were different in the sense that the referee was not included in that review at Alabama, whereas the referee was included in this one. So I had no knowledge of that review actually taking place.
When you turn something in, which I remember you saying a week ago, to the conference office, is that like the dead letter box? Do you ever hear anything from them, or do they call you back and say something?
Date is very, very thorough with voiceovers, and he'll give us a full and detailed explanation of each and every one that we turn in. So the reporting is excellent in terms of, if we send something in, he's very diligent in getting the information back. Sometimes we agree to disagree in terms of the rationale, and sometimes there's a lot of layers to the rationale, and sometimes it's just my opinion that we get in the way of just football. But again, he's got a job to do, and sometimes we agree to disagree.
Very, you come from a background in politics. That's a very diplomatic way of putting it, Coach.
I'm trying to save my money.
Well, yeah, I mean, you absolutely do. Let me just ask you before you go about this week, and not to disparage or diminish the importance of the game. It's one of those special games on the schedule because it's scheduled, but it also comes before a big rivalry game. How do you approach this game, or is it the same, or is it different than the Murderers Row that you've just completed?
That's a great question. So, we talked about the Alabama game in terms of our preparation for Alabama. Do we rise to the level of our opponent, or do we rise to the level of our preparation? That would be similar this week. Do we lower our preparation to our opponent, or do we rise our preparation? And so for us, this group, we're not a perfect group, as you've seen in the way we play. We need to continue to work to get better. So this week will be about us. This will be about our preparation and the things that we need to get better at, and use this as an opportunity as a group to get better at the things that we're certainly needing to get better at. And so that's this week, and then go out and really relish the opportunity. These guys only have 2 more home games left in their career for many of our upperclassmen. So that's how we will attack it this week.
Well, Coach, we enjoy it as always. We really appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you. Have a great week.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks for having me on.